Hello art beaters, Becky here for artbeads.com, and I've got a brand new video for you today. Today I'm going to be talking about our brand new Preciosa Czech glass seed beads. We've got all kinds of wonderful shapes, sizes, and colors available, and I'm also going to be showing you how to do the 2-drop brick stitch technique with some of those round seed beads. So let's take a look.
So, Preciosa Czech glass seed beads. So, we've got a couple different styles. We have the round seed beads, which are these. These are size 8/0, and I really like the shape of the round seed beads. They're a little more squat, I would say, a little more squished, maybe they're just a little more plump looking than the Toho round seed beads or the Miyuki round seed beads. So I kind of like that. I think they look really amazing in seed bead fringe. They've got this really nice kind of boho look. I know that a lot of people like to use these in bead crochet as well, especially like a tubular crochet or like a 3D crochet project. They look really nice in bead crochet. So I know that the round Czech glass Preciosa seed beads are used a lot for that purpose. Really wonderful colors. This is the 6/0 size. I wanted to show you how big the tubes were for these seed beads. They come in these nice long tubes, which means you get plenty of seed beads to work with. It's so nice. So lots of seed beads. So I've already made these earrings with these colors, and I still have plenty of beads left over from the tubes to make even more. So that is really nice that they come in such large tubes, so you can just keep making and making and making with all your seed beads. Yeah, I like that frosted metallic teal color too. It's a really nice color. This is an example of the larger 2/0 pony bead size, and I really like the colors on these. They almost look like little berries or pomegranate seeds. So that's a really fun color, and they're a little more rounded. So those are just great beads in general. You could use those for weaving projects, stringing, really nice. So that's the 2/0 pony bead size. We've got more of that larger 6/0 size. Again, you can see that nice rounded shape on these Czech glass seed beads there. Really nice. I really like the shape of these seed beads. And then we also have the smaller 11/0 sizes too in that round shape. And again, lots of colors. I'm just giving you examples here today. We have lots of colors to choose from on the website. I've got links to shop our Preciosa beads in the video description. So you can go to town picking out your favorite colors because we have a lot to choose from. It's super exciting. Really like the smaller 11/0 sizes as well. And then we have this really fun shape. This is a 3-cut 9/0 seed bead. So this shape is a little faceted, which means it picks up the light really nicely. So it's got 3 cuts on it to give it that faceted look, and it just kind of shimmers and gleams a little bit differently than a traditional cylinder seed bead. So that's a really fun one. I actually used that kind in this bracelet, so you can kind of see how that 3-cut just adds a little extra gleam. You can kind of see the faceting on those black beads. Really nice. I just made a little square stitch bracelet with a fun little striped pattern, and I finished that off with a tiara cast stitch on link. Super easy, really fun way to use your seed beads. I thought the square stitch was a nice way to show off all these fun colors. So this is in the design studio with instructions and a supplies list now. And then I just added my clasp thanks to that little tiara cast stitch in link. Super cute. And then I made, with the 11/0 round seed beads, I made a tubular herringbone bracelet. So how I did this was I made my tubular herringbone tube rope, and then I strung it onto jewelry wire, and I finished the ends with Preciosa crystal bicones actually, and a couple seed beads. I thought the bicone fit nicely. It kind of nestled into the ends of the tube really nicely, and I liked these colors with the seed bead colors that I used here. So that was a really fun one. Again, this one is in the design studio tutorial as well. And then I also made some brick stitch earrings with that 2 2-drop brick stitch technique. So I used 2 seed beads in the place of 1 in my brick stitch base, and then I added fringe at the bottom of my brick stitch piece. I really like the round seed beads in fringe. I just think it looks so boho, so fun, really good movement and drape on those seed beads. So I'm going to show you how to do that 2-drop brick stitch. I'm going to be using the same colors that I used here. So I've got the 8/aught round seed beads from Preciosa. I've got some Toho 1G beading thread. I really love that thread. You could use your favorite beading thread, whatever kind you like. I've got a beading needle as well, size 12, and I'm going to take off about an arm span length of thread here. So hi Deb, good to see you. Yay! Yes, really fun fringe earrings today, and they're really fun summer colors. I love all those colors together. They're just really fun for summer. I was thinking today about brick stitch. So I finally broke down and bought a pair of Crocs. But I didn't get the traditional Crocs kinds. I just got a sandal type of Crocs, and I did want them to have the little holes for the gibbets. So the gibbets are just little decorations that you can add to your Crocs. But I was thinking I could probably brick stitch my own little gibbets. So I could make any kind of little decoration for my Crocs I wanted. So I might experiment with that. I think it'd be really fun because I bought a bunch of cute like Disney ones and Taylor Swift ones. But then I was kind of thinking, because I've made little brick stitch cuties to turn into pins and stuff, I bet you could easily turn them into gibbets for your Crocs. So that might be my next project. Pretty funny. Okay, so I've got my thread on my needle, and I'm going to start my brick stitch. I'm going to start it from the first row, the widest row of my piece. And you're going to start it just as you would a regular brick stitch, but for 2-drop brick stitch, you're going to be using 2 beads in the place of 1. So if you recall, brick stitch is started with a basic ladder stitch. So you can see I've got 2 rows of that teal color in my first row. So I'm going to pick up 4 of these teal beads. So 2 in the place of 1 bead. So that means we usually start brick stitch with 2 beads, but for 2-drop, we're going to start with 4. So pretend that's 1 bead and pretend these 2 beads are 1 bead. So from here, I'm going to put that on my thread, make sure I leave a 6-inch or longer tail, just enough to weave back into my project at the end. And I'm going to loop back through those first 2 seed beads that I added. You're so funny with your Crocs. They are really comfortable, and my thread came off my needle immediately. I do that a lot. Yeah, they are really comfortable. I just remember like when I was like in high school, college, they were like, that was like, you couldn't wear Crocs. They're very uncool. But now they're really cool with the younger kids, the Gen Z kids. So now they're cool now. So it's like, oh, well, now I've got to like retrain my brain to like these. I still can't like commit to the traditional Crocs, but some of their sandals are pretty cute. So I bought some sandals. I do like the idea of the gibbets because I think they're cute. So we'll see. But I want to make my own. I think that'd be really fun. But they are really comfy. They do feel kind of like clouds. So that's nice. I got to test out. I haven't like walked a long distance in them. I'm going to test that out and see. So I've come back up through those first 2 seed beads, and I'm just going to reinforce. I'm going to go down through these 2 seed beads and then back up again just to reinforce, kind of keep that shape, because you want these sets of 2 beads kind of stacked next to each other in columns, really. And then I'm going to come back down through this side. And then we're ready to keep going with our ladder stitch for this first row. All right, so I've got my first 2 columns of teal beads. The next color in the row is orange. So I'm going to pick up 2 orange beads. And ladder stitch, super easy. You add your beads and then I'm coming out from the top of these beads here. I'm going to loop down from the bottom and back around. So that's the ladder stitch. And then you're going to come back down through those orange beads you just added. And again, you can reinforce to kind of make the shape a little more defined, but that looks pretty good to me. And I'm using dark thread here so you can see my thread. You might want to use like a lighter color that matches your beads more if you're doing this for yourself. The next color in my row is that ivory color. So I'm going to pick up 2 ivory beads because we are using 2 beads in the place of 1. So I've got the 2 beads and I'm coming down from the bottom. I'm going to come from the top, go back through those orange beads. So I've got those ivory beads and then I'm going to come back up through them to reinforce the shape and also get in position to add my next set of 2 beads. So I've got those. Now I'm going to add turquoise beads. We're going to add 2 as we've been doing. Go through the bottom, come back up through. My needle keeps coming off of this thread. Very strange. Must be a slippery needle. Luckily, it's pretty easy to thread. I just need to give it a longer tail coming out of that eye, I think. I find that happens too a lot when I start going fast in my stitches. I guess it's the universe telling me to slow down. All right, so we're coming up through the top. We're going to loop around through the bottom. And then go back through those 2 turquoise we just added. And then the turquoise is kind of my center for this row. So we're just going to mirror that color pattern on the other side of the turquoise bead. So I'm picking up 2 ivory, looping around from the top since we're coming out of the bottom. And then going back through those 2 we added. All right, then we're going to add the 2 orange. If I can get them on my needle. There we go. Coming out of the top of those ivory beads, so we're going to come through the bottom to loop around. And go back down through those orange beads we just added. And then we're going to add 2 columns of the teal beads. I really like this teal color. I'd like to paint a wall in my house that color, like a nice accent wall. All right, I've got 1 row of teal beads, and now we're going to add our final 2 drop in this row. So add 2 beads. We're coming up from the top, so go through the bottom. And come down through here. I'm going to flip this so we're working from the top. All right, so now we're ready to start the proper brick stitch. So my original piece, it decreases. The brick stitch decreases. It goes in kind of an incline. So we're going to start this next row on a decrease, and you always start a row of brick stitch with 2 beads, or in this case 4. So because we're using 2 beads in the place of 1, so I'm going to pick up 4 beads. Now on the decrease of brick stitch, you can see that I've got little thread bridges here between each bead in the previous row. If you were going to start this row on an increase, you would go through this first thread bridge here. But because we're starting on a decrease and we want those beads to kind of go in, and we'll be adding 1 less column in this row, we're going to pass through this second thread bridge. So you want to catch your needle under that thread bridge and pull. And you kind of, with the 2 drop, you want to kind of get your beads in place. You've got 2 beads in each column here. So then once you've gone through that thread bridge, without going back under that thread bridge, because that will just undo your work, you're going to come up through these last 2 seed beads added as if it were 1. And it Might look a little wonky at first because they're not, you know, perfectly in place, but once you get going, it will look good. And you can reinforce this too, as you did in the first row. So you can see these beads are kind of sticking out. You can go through those and then come back up through the second column to reinforce the shape. And again, you don't want to go through any of those thread bridges when you're doing that. All right, so we've got our first 2 sets of beads added to this decreased row, and you can see it kind of goes in. So the next color we did on the second row is the orange. So I'm going to pick up 2 orange beads, and we're going to continue the brick stitch here. Oh, I'm so glad this is helpful, CD. Yeah, we're doing 2-drop brick stitch. It's also called double brick stitch. I like, when I was making these earrings, just regular brick stitch I thought would be too triangular. I wanted more of a not so linear, and the 2-drop really helped with that feel. So I've got my 2 orange seed beads, using 2 beads in the place of 1 when we're doing 2-drop brick stitch. We're going to come through that next thread bridge over. You see that? So I'm passing my needle under that thread bridge between the next 2 beads in the previous row and pulling. And then we're going to come back up through those 2 seed beads we just added without passing through that thread bridge, because that will just undo our work. We don't want that. And believe me, it's easy to do in brick stitch. I've done it before. There we go. All right. So we've got that bead in place. And then we want 2 ivory seed beads for the next color. So I'm picking up 2 beads in the place of 1, and I'm going to pass through that next thread bridge over, pulling tight, and then passing back up through the beads I just added, making sure not to go back through that thread bridge. So we're not undoing our work here. Another pair of seed beads for the next stitch in the brick stitch, going under the next thread bridge, and then coming back up through the 2 beads we just added. These are 8/0 Czech glass Preciosa seed beads, and you can see that this rounded shape is a little bit different from the Toho and Miyuki beads you might be used to, but I really like the shape. I think it's a super fun organic boho shape. Okay, so we've got 2 columns of ivory color. We're going to do orange again. So I'm going to pick up 2 orange beads, go through that next thread bridge, and then passing back up through the 2 orange seed beads we've added without passing through that thread bridge again. Oh, thank you, Mary. That's so sweet. All right, and then we're going to add 2 columns of the teal color. So I've picked up 2 of those teal seed beads. I'm going to pass through that next thread bridge over. And go back up through the 2 seed beads I just added. And then to finish the row, I'm going to add 2 more of that teal color and pass through the final thread bridge. So if we were wanting to end this row on an increase, which means the beads go over the previous row, you would just, once you finished this thread bridge, so let's complete this stitch in the row. So we're going to come back up through those 2 seed beads. So if you wanted to finish this row on an increase, what you would do is you would pick up 2 more seed beads and pass through the thread bridge that you did in the last stitch. So that would add a little increase to your row. So that's how you would increase the row, but we're doing just decrease only today, which is nice. So we're going to start the next row with this same color. So 2, oh wait, remember, when we start a row, you have to start with 2 beads, or in our case, 4, since we're using 2 beads in the place of 1. That's always important to remember. You always start the next row with 2 beads, or in our case, 4, since we're doing 2-drop brick stitch. And since we are starting this row on a decrease, we don't want to go through the first thread bridge. We want to go through the second thread bridge. That will create the decreased look. They do kind of look like kernels of corn. They just have a really nice rounded shape to them. They're really nice. So I've gone through that second thread bridge over, and I'm just going to come back up through those last 2 seed beads added, since those are technically our second bead together. There we go. And then I'm going to come back through those first 2 seed beads just to kind of give it a better shape, reinforce the shape, and then come back up through the last 2 seed beads. All right, now for this row, we're going to add another stitch of 2 orange. So I've picked up 2 seed beads. I'm going to come through the next thread bridge. So this is another cool thing about the 2-drop brick stitch is you can kind of play with the color pattern a little bit more within the stitch. Since you're using 2 seed beads in the place of 1, you could use the same color seed bead for each stitch, or you could use different colors. And that's what I did in this row. So what I did here is I added an orange seed bead and then a white for this stitch. So my 2 seed beads in the place of 1 actually has 2 different colors going on. So that's kind of a cool thing that you can do with the 2-drop brick stitch. Tina's asking, I'm just figuring out brick stitch. Do you start at the widest part or at the top? I like to start at the widest part of your piece because in my eyes, it's easier to decrease a stitch than it is to increase, but that's just personal preference. And this stitch is really basic. It's just going up, or it's just increasing or decreasing evenly, no matter what side you start on. And the ending, even the smallest part, is still pretty wide. So you could start there and increase, no problem, if that's how you prefer. I like to decrease my brick stitch pieces a little more than I like increasing. Yeah, and especially like if your like narrowest point is just 2 beads, it would be really hard to start your stitch there. So I do like to start at the widest part. Yeah, so I added 2 beads of different colors here just to kind of give my piece some fun color variation. And I was kind of, it's almost like a rainbow shape, not as rounded and curved as a rainbow, but I was going for like those rainbow stripes of color. So I wanted that ivory section to end in a little bit more of a point. But I didn't do that here at the top of the orange. So I kind of like how that turned out. So that's something to think about when you're doing 2-drop brick stitch, is you can kind of play with those colors and switch up the colors within each stitch. So that's pretty cool. All right, so we did our little fun, funky 2-color part. Let's pick up 2 orange as we did before. Go through and under that thread bridge, and then come back up through the beads. All right, and then we're gonna pick up 2 of these teal beads for the next stitch. Pass under that next thread bridge and go up through the beads. Yeah, I love brick stitch. It's a super fun stitch. Once you figure it out, it goes by pretty quick. It's pretty easy, and it goes by really quick when you're doing this 2-drop brick stitch, because it builds up faster because you've got more beads. You're covering more surface with each stitch. All right, and then we have finished this row. And then all I got to do is my last row here, which my final row is just all teal beads. So that makes it really easy. You don't really have to pay much attention to colors. So I'm going to pick up 4 seed beads. So 2 seed beads in the place of 1. And then we're decreasing again. So we're not going to pass through this first thread bridge. We're going to pass through that second thread bridge, and then come back up through the last 2 seed beads added. And I like to reinforce, so I'm going to loop back around, come down through these first 2 seed beads, and then come back up through the last 2 just to reinforce the shape. And then we're just adding teal beads all the way across. So I'm going to pick up 2 teal beads Go under the next thread bridge over, pull tight, and then come back up through the beads added. Pick up 2 more. Pass through the next thread bridge, or under, I should say. Go back up through the seed beads you just added, and keep going. Keep going all the way across. These colors are just so fun. I think the teal with the orange just really pops. They're really nice colors together. And then our last stitch in the row, we're passing through that last thread bridge, pulling tight, and going back up through the beads. And that's how you do 2 drop break stitch. Super easy. So from here, I added fringe at the bottom of my piece, and I made the fringe the same color as the bead it was coming out of. So all I did here was I just wove, is that a word? Wove? Guided my thread down, back down, down to the bottom of my piece. I'll show you how to do a seed bead fringe really quick too. And I'm going to, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to jump over from here down this way. So to add your fringe, you want to be coming out of the bottom beads. So just follow the thread path down. So you're coming out of that first bead there. And then what I did was I just added the same colors. And how many did I add here? I added 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So I'm going to add 18 seed beads in that same color, that same teal color. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can make it shorter too if you didn't want it so long. You can definitely play with the fringe length. So add however many you want. So then what you would do, once you've added your fringe, however long you want, you're going to skip that last bead you added and then go back up through all of the rest of the beads. So you can see I didn't bring my needle through that first bead. So that first bead's going to hold it all in place because we didn't pass back through it. If we passed through all the beads, they would just come right off the thread. So just skip over that first one. And what I like to do is just make sure that we don't have a whole ton of slack, but a little slack will help with drape. So if you have just a little bit of slack, that's okay. And then you would come back up through these 2 seed beads and then come down through the next seed beads over. And then you could add fringe from that one. Make sure you don't get snagged anywhere. Boop. And what I like to do is I'll lay it down and just give it a nice pet. So just to help the tension, make it look nice and straight and smooth, and make sure that bottom bead is hanging exactly the way you want, and then continue from there. So super easy. And then once you've added all your fringe, you'll weave your thread back up and you can just stitch your earring component right on between those center beads, which is how I did it. So super easy. Love how those turned out. I'm loving these Preciosa Czech glass seed beads. I think they're really pretty. They're a really nice round shape that I'm loving working with. They work in a lot of different stitches. As you can see, I used them here in seed bead fringe and brick stitch. I did some some tubular herringbone with them, and I even did some square stitch. Looming would give you the same effect with these seed beads. There's all kinds of fun things you can do with these, and again, we have them available in lots of different sizes and colors. That nice big 6/0 size would be fun. And again, the tubes are a really nice big size. So as you can see, this project uses quite a few of that teal color. I still have so many teal seed beads left over, not to mention the other colors. We have a lot of seed beads to work with. So you'll have plenty to use for all kinds of projects. They're just great, a great value. Those tubes are wonderful size. So that's very exciting too. So fun to buy those seed beads and collect all the tubes and see them all laid out all together. It's just, oh, it's a beautiful sight, an inspiring sight. So yeah, really fun project today. I'm glad we got to talk about 2-drop brick stitch because it's something I've done quite a bit, but I don't think I've ever shown it. So I'm so glad that we got to demo that today because there's a lot you can do with it. It would be fun to kind of play around more with using different colors within each stitch.
Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope that it was helpful and inspiring. Please let me know if you have any questions. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. And as always, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell button for notifications so you're the first to know when videos like this are out there. Thanks again, and I will see you next time. Bye.